Hello, and welcome to April May Creations, the channel dedicated to all things creative. My name is April Sittler, and I love to create. So whether you're here for a little inspiration, or you just want to see what I've been up to, thank you for joining me. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll be notified when each new video arrives. I also feature many of my creations in my Etsy store, April May Creations US, for those of you who like to watch but prefer to pick out a finished product. I can't wait to show you what we're going to do today. So come on, let's get started. Hi everyone, how are you today? This video I wanted to show you how to create some keepsakes. So especially after a loved one passes, there's times where you want to take some things of theirs and keep them, but you want them to be organized. You want it to be something that you can review once in a while and something that doesn't take up a lot of space. So I thought we'd make a really special little tiny, I guess, scrapbook in a way of some cards and some notes that I got from my mom. And one of the things that I miss about her is she was such a good listener, but she was also a good writer. She had beautiful handwriting. And I thought it would be nice to create a little keepsake of some of the cards and little letters, postcards that she'd sent me over the years. So I pulled a few together. So there's also some things that I wanted to do a keepsake from my grandmother as well. I want to show you 2 or 3 different ways that I thought of taking some nice little keepsake items and making a little memory book. So the one thing that my mother did, and as I was going through her things, and so hers was a scrapbook. It turned out to be a really big scrapbook, but this is how she kept her cards and things that she liked. So she had things from her daughters, from her sisters, and so this is what she did with hers. And it's really, really sweet. And we actually put this out at her memorial service. And it was a really special little thing for people to look through and see all these special things. So that's how she decided to do hers. This was a little big for me. I wanted something a little bit more compact. And so that's where I came up with this idea. And then the other way that I thought of taking some special items and doing a keepsake is in those little binders. So these are those little, I think they're 5 by 8 binders. And you can get these sheet protectors, which are 5.5 by 8.5. And so my grandmother did a combination where she would send me letters, and then she also sent me cards. So I kind of went through everything to get an idea of what types of things I had, and I think hers is going to work better in a binder just because of the types of things she sent me. So we'll go over that as well later in the video. But let's get started first with what I wanted to do for my mother's things. So I don't know that these are all the things that I have for her, but there's some things that I found that I wanted to start with. And then we can always add to it if we find some more. So the first thing I did is I just went through and looked at everything that I had, and so that I could divide it into some different groups. So there was the, vertical portrait style card. There were these little notes that she had written, little postcards that she had sent. She also sent me a couple of fun cards that are crazy shaped. And then there was one that was a landscape style as well. But that was really the only one. So everything else was vertical, and most things, you know, were pretty concise. And then there were a few envelopes where she had written some pretty little messages. So those were the types of things that I found for her. And so when I'm looking at the size of the book that I'm going to need, this is the biggest card set here. So this is the size that we're going to make the card. And then we can always attach these other things to a piece of cardstock or paper to put in the book. So everything can be the same size. And everything doesn't have to be the same size, but I think in this case, that's what makes sense for me. Now on some of these cards, again, you can decide what you want to do, but I was thinking that I wouldn't necessarily need to leave them as cards. So what we're going to do is, I thought I'd create some single pages. So I'll probably cut this card in half, for example, and then I'll take this and this so you can see the other side, and then I'll have this as a special thing right after that. Don't really need the back of the card, but that way I'd have this one sheet plus this sheet that could follow each other. The same with this. We can do this one in here. I thought I'd take out the center. I'd cut this off. We can use this for something else, and we can use this for something else then, just as the back of the card. And then I could take this and glue it on the back of there, and again have a single page that we would have. And then this with this little card, I thought it was really sweet. I will probably make a copy of this side and then maybe display it on the same piece of cardstock so they'll show up next to each other. And I'd like to keep her writing original, so that's why I'm going to make a copy of the card. And then this one I will cut apart too, and I'll probably save the front and this page and glue them back to back, and then that way they could be a cute little one sheet. Same with this one. We could do a one sheet, and then here's some little stickers I can just use for something else. This one I will cut apart as well, and I can use it as a front and back and put it on another piece of cardstock in between. Same with here. This one will be easy just to cut in half and glue back to back. And this one is a little bit bigger. I would like to keep the front, and I'd like to keep that one, but then I don't need the middle back, but I love this really pretty purple. So we might try to use it in there as well. So I'll cut this one into thirds and put these back to back. And this one might be nice to put in the very front, you know. That's a really sweet card. And then the same with this one. I think we'll cut it, put it back to back, and it'll just be oriented a little different way. Same way with that one. This one we can cut apart and we can put on a different back to back, and then we'll figure out how we can save a couple of these little sayings that she had. And then this was, we were Catholic growing up, and so this is a little Saint Teresa thing that she must have ordered for me when I picked my saint. And so we'll see how we might want to incorporate that, if at all. What I'm wondering if maybe I'll put this on the front, because, you know, I thought, what do I want to do for a title for this so that I'll kind of remember what it is. And so I was thinking, I liked this for the cover. She loved butterflies, and so I thought I could use this part for the cover, and then I could take this and probably crop it down a little bit and maybe angle the corners, and then that could maybe be on the front cover. And then this is just an indication that these are her little notes and cards to me. So I thought that was special. So this is what I picked for the cover. Blossoms and Butterflies from DCWV, and you can get this kind of paper I think at Michael's generally. And I liked this stack. It has some glitter in it, but a lot of bright colors. So I thought if we use this for the cover, then I picked some papers that we can use for the inside. So I thought that was pretty. We could get a couple out of there. I liked this little green polka dot paper. There's a blue, a pink, and a green that coordinate as well. And then I liked this color. So we might, I don't know if we can get 2 out of here, or maybe we might not want one that goes the pattern that direction, but we can at least get 1 out of this. So anyway, so this is the paper that I chose to do everything in. Okay, so as I mentioned, when you start to pull out your project and decide what it is you need, one of the first things you want to do is figure out what is your largest piece. So that way you know how big to make it. So this is my largest card, and the size was 5.5 by 8. And so as I go to cut my cover, I'm going to want to make sure that it's just a little bit bigger than 5.5 by 8. And I think with this little book, I'm going to want to sew it or attach it on the side. And I thought it might be cute to have a bottom solid border. So I thought about putting the solid brown at the bottom, or we could do the solid brown at the top. But either way, we will want to cut this just a little bit bigger than the 5.5. So I thought maybe I would cut it out to the edge of these butterflies right here, and then across the top of these butterflies. Okay. And this is one of my favorite cutters. It's a Fiskars cutter, and I know a lot of crafters like the Fiskars brand. This one I like because it has the wire that goes down the middle here, and so you always know exactly where you're going to cut. And I imagine that a lot of the paper cutters are like that, but I think what I find is this one is just easy for me to see where to cut. And so everybody's going to have their own favorite, and even some love the guillotine cutters, but I find that this one works really, really well. So there's our front cover. And then we're going to want to cut a back cover. And I got out both pieces because I wasn't sure if we would be able to use both by cutting. I thought it was just a little bit over half, which it is. And I guess I didn't need to make it that wide. So why don't I just cut this down? That way we're just using one piece of paper. So there's our front and back cover. And I think that's going to be pretty. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside. And then as we look at this, let's go ahead and cut this card in half. Okay, and I think I'll wait on these to see what we'll do before I cut them down. So there's all our cutting. Need to keep the other side, and then we'll round the corners. So we'll see once we get to the end, we'll put together, and then I'll make a copy of this so we can use both of these on the design. Okay, made that copy. So now we'll just cut it out. And I just used a little heavier cardstock. It's not plain printing paper. It's about a 40-pound. It's called a project paper, and they sell it as HP or like Office Depot, Office Max, and it's about 40-45 weight. So I like that when I'm doing this type of thing. because it gives it just a little bit more firmness. So that looks good. So then we have that one. Okay. All right, so we've got all of these cut out and we have our cover made. So now let's start gluing these together and then we can put them in the book. And so now before we glue these down, the other thing I was thinking of is distressing around the edges of these cards and maybe rounding the corners so that they look a little bit more finished. So there isn't any reason why we couldn't do that on this one. Wouldn't take anything away from it. So when I thought of colors to distress ink around the outside, I got some browns. I also got some then the colors to match the paper they're going on. So with this one, why don't we do the cocoa? So this paper's a little bit thinner, so I'm not going to use that thick of glue on it. I'm going to use my Zig memory system glue. It's a two-way glue and it's just wouldn't be as heavy. So I'm going to use this on this thinner piece of paper. I want to try to preserve this writing on this. So what I think I'm going to do is make a copy of this writing and then cut it out in maybe a circle or some kind of shape and probably stick it down here at the bottom or up at the top on the back. Okay, so that gets our little book all glued together. Now we just need to decide what order we want everything in, and then we can start binding it. And in case I didn't go over my ink colors I'm using, for the brown I had Ranger Cocoa. For the green I had My Favorite Things Gumdrop Green. For the blue it was Squid Ink Blue Marlin. For the pink, it was Squid Ink Sunburnt, and those were the ink colors that I was using today. Okay, so I think as we're putting this together, it's not a huge deal what order everything goes in, but I think I just want to make sure the colors are nice and mixed up a little bit. And then I mentioned that it might be kind of pretty to put this one in the front just because it has such a sweet little saying. So maybe if we started with that and then went with there, then we've got one of each color, pink, blue, green. And maybe I'll take this guy and put it next. How about right after this? Is that too much green together? And then this one didn't need any either because it was the same size like the engagement. This one is really pretty too. So maybe we will put it kind of here towards the front. And then maybe the engagement one there. And then what about the same order we did these, pink, blue, green? We can leave Scooby-Doo for the end. So that way we also have a Scooby-Doo kind of towards the front and then kind of at the end, so they're also not together. So how does that seem? Does that seem like a good order to put them in? I think I'll like it. And then for some reason, this one isn't as wide, and I'm not sure why, but it's okay. It's at the front, so I think that'll be a little bit more forgiving that way. And then here's the front cover, and here's the back. Now the other thing I thought of on this little book is I thought it might be nice to have something inside the cover. So I think what I might do is just a solid color and maybe even the brown, since the brown is a pretty predominant color. I thought about just putting brown right inside the cover. So I have a couple of sheets of brown, and I think that that will look nice. And I can put the textured side out to give it a little bit more character. And so even though I measured these, I'm just going to cut this in the trimmer to the size of this, just so that I know it's a little bit more exact. Okay. So there's our little book, and now all we have to do is put it together. Okay, so the second type of keepsake for letters and cards that I thought about was a binder. So my grandmother's items seemed to be a better fit for this type of keepsake because she did both cards and letters. And a lot of the cards she sent, she didn't just sign the middle. She also kind of wrote notes in there too. And so there's just a lot of different things to preserve with it. And so I thought this kind of a keepsake might be, a little binder might be a little bit better option for these. So I went ahead and divided the things again that I found, and I could find some other things later, but it'll be easy to add these in here. I found some letters, and they are bigger than the 5 by 8 little sleeves, so I'm gonna have to keep them folded up a little bit, but I'll try to unfold them somewhat just so they don't stay so creased. And then there's several little cards, so in some cases we could do the cards like we did on my mom's, where we can cut them and make them, you know, kind of a back-to-back thing in here. And then I also got some coordinating paper because I thought behind the cards, you know, we might want to put some paper. So there's a few cards that were like that. So those will be easy to fit in. And see, in here there's some writing as well. And so I probably won't keep this one, but I'll keep that one. And then maybe we can use the little bird somewhere. But so this one I'll just cut the front. There's that one and that one. And then as we get a little bit later, in some of the cards, like this little part of the card was cute too, so I think I'll make a copy of this so that as I stick this on there, we can use these little guys somewhere else. And then she also wrote on the back, so come to think of it, maybe what we'll do is just cut this down the middle and then just have this be one and this be the next. And I may not put paper in the sleeve with it. Otherwise, we'll have to copy this or copy this to make it work. So we'll have to look at this one when we get closer and see what we want to do with that. And then this one, again, it had a cute little thing over here, so I think I want to make a copy of that so that we can use the cute little guy on the front and some of the inside on that little note. And then there were several then that followed where the front of the card wasn't really anything super special that I needed to keep. So I may just do this where they're turned because you'll know it's a birthday wish based on what it says here. So I don't think I need to keep the front of some of these cards. So I turned them like this. And then, yeah, so that one I didn't think I needed it either. This one, she was super cute, so I think I want to save the inside of that one. So what I'll do is make a copy of the front of this one, and then we'll use 1, 2, we'll have all 3 pages. And if you haven't figured it out, my grandmother's name was Dolores, but she went by Grandma Dot, so she always signed everything Grandma with a little period. So that was her little unique signature. And then there were some cards a little bit later that I found where they were either landscape or portrait, but then she wrote in the card this way. So I was thinking, I went ahead and put one in the protector just to see what it would look like. So I think that I might do this one, these like this. So I found a whole section of these, and this one has an extra note with it, because she ran out of room, I guess, to where we'll display all of these like that, because like here she even carried it a little over on the back. So all of those can go like that. And then these last few, these were pretty little cards that she had on the front. I think I'm going to make a copy of these because on the inside she wrote this direction. So if I make a copy of this, I can put this and this. I can either put this in the page protector. Actually, it's going to be a little wide too for that. So with this one, we might have to see. So in this one, I guess we definitely want to cut it in half. And then I could go ahead and just have this be the front, that be the next page, and that be the third page. And then maybe we'll just leave the back of the card. So I guess with these two, that's what we'll do, is we'll just cut it there, and then we'll display those like that. And then this one was a card that we can cut and display back to back. And then it had a little note in it as well. So that will be a second page where we'll unfold the note a bit. And then this one was going to be easy to do. It was just landscape instead of portrait. And it was a little wider than the page protector. So I don't think I want to cut it down to display it straight up and down. But as we get closer, we can see if we just want to cut a little bit off each edge so that it will display long ways. Otherwise, I'll stick it in like this with a piece of paper in between, like we did in the other book, and then it can just be sideways. So I think on this one, probably one of the easiest places to start is just to start with the letters, and that way we get all of those put in, and then we can decide what we want to do with these cute little cards. And these page protectors and the binder I just got at Walmart. You can probably get them other places, but I know when it's back to school time, Walmart will carry this size of binder, this page protector, some dividers, some supplies to go in these binders. So now is the perfect time, if you like this idea, to go to the store and pick up some of these supplies. Now, this isn't going to be the super best at preserving it fully because it's not sealed. So if you wanted to do a little bit better protection on the letters like this, I don't have a laminator, but a laminator is a great way. But what I might do is after I get these put in here, I might go through and scan all of these in so that I have a soft copy of everything. That way, if they start to yellow or the paper starts to get brittle, I'll have a backup copy of them. Because as you can see, it is already getting a little yellowed. Okay, so let's put these together. Okay, so that takes care of all the letters. And now we'll get started on the cards. Just put these in here so they don't get strewn about, because they're real slippery now, being in these plastic sleeves. Okay, so now we'll do some of the cards next. So these were the cards that we can cut in half and tape or glue back to back if we wanted. So I'll go ahead and take care of these next. So then the next ones were these. And this one already fit in there, so I can just stick that one in. And then this one we can put in, I think, as well. It might stick out the top just a hair. Nope, it's going to be a little bit wide. So, and it doesn't look like I can trim it down at all. No. So, I guess we're going to have to put this one in here, closed, and then we'll just have to open it to read it. So we may put a piece of paper in between, and then here's an extra little note that will fit. And so we can stick this on the back. So as you go through your keepsakes, you know, you'll just have to group them into whatever makes sense for yours. And then, you know, as you think about it, it's pretty rare that we even write anymore, right? So if you haven't written a letter or sent a card to someone that you care about, like a sister, you know, a grandchild, you know, even a brother, a sister, a mom, you know, go ahead and take advantage of the time you have to drop them a little note, because it really does mean a lot. And because it's such a rare thing to really get something in their handwriting, right? Something that they took the time. The people in your life will really appreciate that from you. So don't underestimate the value of that. And I'm just going to cut off. I probably need to replace the blade in my trimmer from cutting all that glitter paper. And then this one, I remember, we could fit it in here if we would just cut it down a little bit. So let me see if we can do that. And not do too much with the card, hurting the card. So again, it needs to be 5.5, right? So we'll see if we can get it even here. I cut off 1/4 inch on this side and 1/4 inch off the other side. We'll be at 5.5. And African violets, it's interesting, I just noticed she could grow African violets like nobody's business. And what she would do is she would pour her leftover coffee from her cup or the coffee grounds from the pot into the flowers. And so she was able to grow flowers. She had a huge pots in her house because she had the nice light in the back coming in from her back porch. And so she had the biggest pots of African violets you wouldn't believe. It's funny the things you remember, isn't it? Okay, and then these three, we just cut. This time I'll try to cut it in the center. And then I can glue those back to back. So what do you remember about your grandparents? Some people know their grandparents. Some still have them. They're still alive. And then others don't know their grandparents hardly at all. So it's really interesting. And some have pretty big extended families. And so you even have kind of foster grandparents. Because there's just some people that are just made to be grandparents. And so they're grandparents to everybody. That's kind of how my Grandma Dot was. She, everybody called her Grandma Dot. Didn't matter who you were. You could be the fireman outside the assisted living home she was in later in her years, and you were still Grandma Dot. And so she, when you visited her, you would just see lots and lots of graduation announcements from people you didn't even know, but it's because they were the daughter of one of the nurses there at the place, or just people she kept in touch with. So it was really interesting, just the number of people that she knew, and so she just never met a stranger. And everyone loved her. Okay, so that finishes up all of those that were easy just to cut and put in here. I guess we are not going to have any color, but that's okay. I could have put a few pieces of paper between a few of these. I just didn't think about it in time. So we will just let the cards and letters speak for themselves in this collection. So now I'm going to go make a few copies here of these, and then we can finish this one up. So when I went to make my copies, I realized that these two cards will fit in the page protector, so I think I'll just put them in like this, rather than cutting them up and doing something different. That's cute. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying these ideas for taking some special letters and cards and putting them in some kind of display so that you can enjoy them. So this isn't going to have as much color in it as what I thought, because not all of the items of this type were going to fit well in the protectors with a front and a back. There was just a few that I could really glue on without making a lot of copies. I think there were probably 6 that I could have done that way. So that's okay. It's just a different way of displaying these items, and it'll be in a nice little binder that'll sit in your shelf. Doesn't have to be a big scrapbook. And then this is also a great idea if there's some things that you want to give to someone who doesn't have as much space, you know, maybe a parent or a grandparent, or even a friend, a grandparent who's a grandparent to all kinds of people, where they just don't have a lot of space. This is really nice because it's just going to be a small, even a little coffee table piece. The other thing I could do, I guess I didn't need the copy, is we could just display this in the front one, because the picture is a little bit better than the copy. And then this could be right behind it. So we'll just do that. Okay, so that took a lot of page protectors. Hey y'all, so my camera stopped while I was putting the binder together, so I just wanted to catch you up with where I was. So I just kind of took the different pieces, and I just kind of spread them out in here to give a little bit of color in different areas. So I kind of mixed up cards, followed by a note and a letter, and most of the letters I kept kind of at the front, and then I just kind of stuck a card in between now and then. So that's kind of the order I have it in for now. As the project comes together, sometimes I find that I get new insights or different ideas on how to organize it once I've had a chance to kind of see how it comes together. And then because these binders I like these binders because you can slip things in the front and the spine. So I'm going to put some of this pretty paper in there. So we'll do 2 of those pockets to cover that, and do something for the front and the spine, and then this one will be done. Hi, so we're ready to bind this little book together. I'm going to do a top binding on it since that's where I have the most room, on 2 little, gosh, can't think of the name of these all of a sudden. 2 little rings, I guess. And then I was going to make a little charm to hang down as well, so we'll make the charm first. Okay, so I made a little charm. to put on here on the one of the rings when we're done. So we've got that ready. So now we're ready to start punching. So what we'll do is we will measure across and we will mark with a pencil where we want each of the holes to go so that we get them the same on everything. So I'm going to use my board here to go down a 1/2 inch, and then we're going to go over how about 2.5 inches, I think, or 1.5 inches. That should be a good place to be. So I'm going to mark these on each one and then we'll punch them. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I did when I was doing this. So one is I forgot to put a blue back on this one. So I thought it looked okay though, so we'll leave it. And then the other thing was I just noticed on this one, I think originally I thought about binding it on the left, but now I'm going to bind it at the top because I had more room. So I'm going to want to round this corner. So that it looks like it belongs. And I will go ahead and do this edge because I don't think I did that. Okay. And then we will want this to also go up towards the top, so we'll have to figure out how we want to do that. Okay, so now, oh, one more, then we're ready to punch our holes. So I'm not able to see where to punch that hole once I get that on there. So I'm going to use this hole punch. It should be the right size. Alright, so all of our holes are punched. And so I'm going to add some brads onto the outside cards just to keep the holes from ripping. And then we'll see if we need to do them on the others, but I think they should be fine. So there's that one. And then this one. And these little eyelets that I'm using, you could just do with a pin. You don't need the crocodile or a tool to do it. I just happen to have the crocodile, so I'm going to use it. But these are from the Eyelet Outlet Quicklets, and so you can set the eyelet with a pin, which is kind of cool. So now we're going to thread this together. I'm going to thread it from the back so that this part will be towards the back. Well, that's interesting. These holes aren't matching up. And I know the reason why. Because these cards are smaller than those cards. So I'm going to redo the holes in the cover just because that will be easier to fix. So give me 1 minute while I remove one of these eyelets and move it over. Okay, so I think I got everything fixed. What I did is I found the little hole I punched out and just glued it back in on here so that it was as little disruption as possible. And then I found one more as well that wasn't in the right place. So, and it's as if it never happened, right? So if I had to do this again, there's a couple of things I would change. One is I would make sure that when I measured in, I was measuring each, if they're different sizes, that I was measuring like the front and the back together, and then I'd line up the inside pages and mark them. Because once you do this one, for example, I could have punched the hole through the top, lined up the second page where I wanted it to go, and then taken my pencil and put a dot down through, punched it. That's probably how I would do it again, just to make sure that everything is centered correctly. So mine's going to be just a little offset, but it's okay. It doesn't bother me too bad, so it's nice to be able to find ways to kind of fix little things too that go wrong. And then it helps you think about how you would approach something the next time as well. So you always learn something in the process. And then the other thing that I would do, let me get this all put on here and then I'll show you what I'm going to mention here. So here's the little book. It's really cute, right? And you can just flip these up. So the other thing that I would do differently is I would take the back page and I would put it the other direction, so that as you flipped through this, this would be oriented this way. So that's probably the only other thing I would change. Again, a minor detail, because, you know, this book is for me and I'll be able to look through it and it'll be special and nice. But to do it again, you might just keep in mind that you might want to orient this page the other direction, so that as you flip through it, all of those are right side up for you. So really it just depends on how you want to use it, or maybe you'll do something for a gift. And then I was able to get this fixed. So what I did is, dental floss is actually your best friend when it comes to stuff that's glued down. So I just stuck a piece of dental floss through here and then just slid it down really gently, and it just peeled that right off. So that's a little tip for you. So I like how this one turned out. It's cute, it's compact, and I can add to it. So if I find some others that I want to add to this, it won't be hard at all to put them here in the back. And then I like the little dangle. I may or may not shorten it just a little bit. I might have gotten it a little bit too long, but I think it turned out really cute. So what do you think? Is this something that you would make? And is this an approach you would take to doing some of your memories, some of your keepsakes? So let me know what you think in the comments. Now let's go back and finish our second way of cherished keepsake keeping, and we'll see how that one turns out too. Okay, so here's the final product of the binder style keepsake. What I did is I just measured the inside of here. I cut this paper I did the solid purple spine and did the back inside cover. I went around this in the purple, and on the printing, I just found a computer font that looked like a writing script and even similar to her writing. And it was called Rage Italic. And then I just did an insert of the circle on that. And so I printed it out because I wanted it to look like handwriting. And I just printed it out on the purple paper so that it wouldn't be white. And then I have these little doilies in green, so I just shaded it and then put the blue behind it. And then one of the things that she collected were turtles. And so I found this cute little turtle image on the internet and thought that I would include that as well. And the embossing folder that I used for the With Love Grandma plate was Country Foliage by Keepsakes. So that's what I used for that. And I really think it turned out cute. And again, it's a nice compact way to preserve these memories. And to come up with the name, I was trying to think, what do I want to put on the front? And as I looked through, what I did is I just looked through all of the individual things in here, and I noticed that at the end of almost everything, she always signed it, Love You, Grandma Dot. And so I thought, well, that's kind of cute. Why don't I just put Love Grandma Dot, With Love Grandma Dot? So that's how I came up with the title. And then I also went ahead and cut some of this paper, the blue paper, and shaded it. And then I did the printed paper. And what I used to tack this down was just Scotch double-stick tape, double-sided tape. And I think that that should hold it just fine. And then I used my regular Dries Clear Glue for this. And then this paper was a little bit thinner again, so I used the Zig two-way glue so that it wouldn't be, it wouldn't show through the back when it dried. So here's our finished products. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got some good inspiration, and I would love to see what little keepsakes you find that will work in a similar system like this, or whatever you come up with. So please be sure to post pictures of what you create on the April Made Creations Facebook page, and comment below the video with anything that you have for me. So thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I hope you had a great time. Happy creating, and be inspired. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time today with April Made Creations. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and share it with people in your life who need a little creative inspiration to make something fun. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on April Made Creations. I have a variety of videos for you to check out next, featuring handmade projects, secrets to stress-free crafting, easy organization, and so much more. If you are not the maker type, check out my Etsy store at April Made Creations US, where I take custom orders and offer many of these finished products for sale.